everybody? Welcome to another Pokemon episode review. So I was racking my brain on how I wanted to talk about this because I knew my opinions were going to be different. So everyone, from what I've seen, is pretty excited and happy about the episode. And I'm not saying the episode was bad by any means. I'm saying it doesn't really hit the way I want it to hit because it doesn't have the same weight behind it to me in a lot of ways. Let's just disregard the fact that one of the most laziest ways of forcing some level of development is to essentially have an episode start off about how a character's on a winning streak and then have them get curb stomped. See, proper storytelling would have a character be consistently more and more cocky to the point where he was still getting, like Ash would still be getting wins even though he was being reckless because of how strong he was, and then to have this episode humble the shit out of him. That's not really what's happening. Up until this point, we've switched between filler and episodes that weren't about him, and even the episodes he wins, he's not on some cocky shit because certain fights are gimmies. I feel like this episode feels like a formality. It doesn't feel like he genuinely got too caught up in his head and lost. Even the fight itself, he wasn't running off with some big dick energy all of a sudden. Not in the fight itself, actually. I understand the beginning of the episode, he's on some low key big dick energy, but for the most part, he's pretty chill and humble. So the episode, for this to be the episode where, oh look, he needs to get curb stomped and learn a lesson, and I'm kind of low key well, what is he learning? And the problem is you have him fight a gym leader who isn't known for talking a lot. So, and that's what makes the situation worse. I feel like they undercut B's personality for the sake of having her be stoic. Because, you can still be stoic and still give out, tidbits of information and make your character appealing. B just seems one-tracked as hell. Seems bland as hell. And granted, it's an introduction episode. You would hope in later episodes she gets better if she's seen more frequently. We know we're going to probably get a rematch at some point. But I don't want it to be dumb where, and I guess my issue more so than anything else is that because as a Pokemon fan and someone who's watched a good chunk of the anime, I've seen this premise done better. Actually, as much as I give DP shit, DP handles Ash taking L's way better because it feels like it correlates with something and then it's meant for growth and there's progression there. And like I said, I'm being somewhat unfair in the sense that this is the first episode of this maybe sort of arc, which may not end up being an arc, especially because what makes this all worse is that the next episode is a Pikachu evolution filler. The one we get in every fucking region. We always gotta do either a Pikachu episode or a Pikachu evolving episode. This one seems a little different, but the point is you can't go off of a loss and then go into some gimmicky Pikachu shit. It just doesn't work. I hate that Journeys loves to do that. Other thing low-key aggravate the shit out of me. Don't set up Ash. Listen, I respect the fact that the anime, this had the decency to reference something that didn't get a lot of shine much from what I remember in the original series, which is that, in Saffron City, you could there was a fighting dojo right next to the psychic gym, and if you beat that dojo, you could get a Hypno-Chan or Hypno-Lee after you beat the master, right? And that's literally where the episode takes place. I appreciate that kind of attention to detail, and the fact that they were pretty consistent with the rules like it was in the games. That's cool shit. I even like the fact that, our master's so super strong, and then B ends up beating him before we don't ever get to see the full fight. What aggravates me is that the master's strength level is underplayed like fuck when you realize that, fucking Go beats him off screen and gets a Hypno-Chan, and you're like, well, Go hasn't been shown to be this ace battler, so why the fuck would I believe that all of a sudden he can Oko or beat the fighting the dojo master? So it annoys me that you bring up that premise in the beginning, you off-screen it, and then we don't get to see it. It's another Go being irrelevant when compared to Ash situation, which is already, just in my opinion, lazy fucking writing, which gets into my issues with Journeys, which is that Journeys doesn't really know how to handle anybody else but Ash. And this episode to me is a clear case of, I don't even know if that's really the case. Now, obviously, this episode is more of the setup for this arc, supposedly. And if this leads into some interesting Karina and B shenanigans later on, well, I'll be a lot more forgiving. But like, I don't feel like this episode does the best first impression. Even B kind of like low key being like Karina wasn't nothing to her. Like saying you beat Karina doesn't mean much to me because of my valuing of Karina being lower than what you might think it would be. Would be fine. I don't know. Low key, I'm like mixed with it because like realistically, you could have still had that same effect and her not be so disrespectful about it. Like they have her so focused, but the lack of like emotion and like interaction just takes it away. Like even when she wins, she walks, she thanks, she does like the proper like respectful thank you for the battle and thank you for letting us use your arena to battle in, and then kind of goes about her business. It's like such a disconnect, and I understand that she's very focused and serious, but like it doesn't make me like her character isn't interesting at that point. Like I'm just like unfortunately I feel like B's being carried by her reputation from other mediums, whether it's the other anime or it's the fucking game. And even in the game, she's serious, but it's not like to this corny degree to where that's it for her character. Like, and my problem is, so like, with her being this kind of character, her losing to Ash in a later episode won't mean much to me. Like, in the sense of me caring about B as a character, unless you give her more episodes to be expressive, which I don't see why she couldn't have had more emotions. And like I said, her lack of commentating, even if she's gonna critique, the only critique she had for Ash was like, you have too much wasted movement, although she says it in a sequence that doesn't make any fucking sense. She says it in the sequence in which Gravelock has Riolu pinned, and he told Riolu to use, I think it was Vacuum Wave to get out, and then she goes, you have too much wasted movement, and my brain was like, well, that doesn't make any fucking sense. I'm in a situation where I pin down and I try to get out of the pin down, and your response is I have too much wasted movement. The only moment that she even expresses any real different type of emotion is when he managed to get Riolu to bounce off the ground with its feet to knock Gravelock on the ground for him to get away. I also feel like there's a couple of shots missing in there. Like, for example, when Ash tells it to use Force Palm on the ground, which the whole gimmick is to knock up all the wood and shit, so that Gravelock has to focus on that and then get essentially a sneak attack in from behind. I don't remember when they cut out sequences where the wood flies. So you skip from the sequence where the Force Palm goes underground, the light shoots up, and then the next sequence is Gravelock just blocking a bunch of wood, and then the next sequence is Riolu attacking from the back, but from the perspective you originally were looking at, they were facing forward, so it doesn't make any fucking sense. I feel like that the whole little section there has a bunch of cut content. I feel like the pacing of this episode is a little weird, and that's in the battle sense. Not in general, but that battle just seems weirdly paced. Like having that weird moment of dead air where they're just doing camera shots and pans and shit, and Riolu panting and shit. Like, B not saying anything, the best way I can describe is compare this fight to something like when Ash lost against Brawly. When Ash lost against Brawly, that whole episode was a perfect setup for Ash losing against Brawly because Ash was so focused on the fight. He was so focused on beating that ass, and he didn't want to do any dicking around. He just wanted to get to the battle and fight. And he was so overly focused on that and didn't know how to work with the ebb and flow of a battle that sometimes you got to slow down and wait, and sometimes you don't need to be focused on attacks every fucking second. That, like, he was so focused on just attacking straight on and no rest that he got his shit wrecked way too fucking easily. Like, but the whole episode was like that with even him surfing. That's how you introduce a gym leader, make the gym leader seem cool, and have Ash take an L where you know he deserved the L and that he has something to learn from it. When you go watch that fight and then go to this fight feels like it's missing a lot of that. And there's subtle things they could have done for B to make her say it, like, Karina is strong. Karina was a strong opponent, but in the end she was too soft. Pretty much still saying that she respects Karina, but she also recognizes that Karina's weaker than her. It's an easy way to fucking say that kind of shit, and it still make more sense. Or if she had more commentary on Ash's battling style. She didn't even give him any decent props in being able to get out the pin that Graplock had him in the first time. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't even acknowledge like his fatal flaw when it comes to fighting and shit. It's like, you're a little bit too random. Like I said, the only line she says is wasted movement, and like I said, the sequence didn't make sense in which she said it. She doesn't have any commentary whatsoever, and it takes away from it. Even like subtle things like too slow or like fucking you're wide open. Things like that would lead into her character more and make me be like, oh, I like B. People just like B now because she said some side shit. And the only thing she said that was overly offensive is that Karina ain't shit. That's all she said. Like, that's not how you get me to like a character. You gotta give me more sides to a character than that. So, like, Ash losing, cool, whatever, it's fine. And it doesn't even seem like he took the loss as bad as he does in the other series. Like, in the other series, he's depressed for, like, the rest of the episode. Here, he gets his Pokemon one, he's like, I'm gonna take revenge against B. For what? Because you took an L? Like, and the problem is, like, I don't know how Ash's battling style will change moving forward because the whole premise of the fight, because there wasn't a back and forth. Like, when he fought Brawly before, using the Hone example again, it was obvious that he was way too hot-headed and way too prone to rushing in and just throwing fists. So he had to learn how to chill out and to become one with nature and use the battlefield to the greatest effect of his ability. And they gave him episodes to do that. It wasn't like this fucking, like, oh, he just took an L, and so now he had to come up with a BS way of fighting her the second time, or what they're probably going to do is a bullshit-ass training arc. I would even prefer it if, like, she had lost against Karina, but beat Ash, even though, like, essentially saying, if Karina beat B, but B beat Ash, saying, like, oh, how are you even considered on the same level as Karina? But, like, that's the problem. They don't really get into Ash's battling style or his flaw in his battling style in this series. So him losing against B kind of doesn't hit the way it's supposed to. It's just that I've seen better fights. So all this geeking out doesn't do enough for me. Like, it's a fine episode. That's kind of where I lean into it. It's nothing, like, crazy about it. It's nothing, and I've heard some people say this is the best episode of Journeys. Man, Journeys has a low fucking bar if this is the best fucking episode. Your favorite episode is the episode where Ash gets curb stomped? Damn. I just feel like it could have been handled better. Like, because her lack of personality or her lack of critique, like her lack of, like, noticing fatal flaw. Because here's the thing, when you introduce a gym leader, there's two things you gotta do. Show their skill and their smarts. Or skill and personality, right? Brawly, they did both of that in his first episode, which is the episode where Ash loses that first fight with him. Where he's a chill dude, and you get to see his personality, and see he's he's an enjoyable character to be around, but he also knows his shit. He also knows his battling style and knows how to whoop a trainer's ass. I can respect that. B is like one of those. Like, B's strong, and that's about it. And we don't really know, like, her value as a gym leader. And like I said, we may see that in future episodes. I'm just saying this episode doesn't leave a great impression on me. Not for B, anyway. People just like her because she's a salty bitch. What? Why? Because she roasted Karina, kinda, sorta, for, like, a line? Damn. Oh, yeah, but she didn't say anything to Ash when he won. That's my problem. My problem is that she doesn't interact enough. And then they have this whole little back and forth about Leon, about how they both want to challenge Leon to prove that they're the strongest. But it doesn't lead in, like, it's not an interesting concept. I don't know. It just, she needs more moments for me to, like, be like, damn, I like B in the anime. People like B right now because they quote-unquote think she's a bitch, which really isn't even the case. She's just being very forthcoming and straightforward. So people's excitement over B right now is because she beat Ash and because she's perceived to be like this badass. This bitchy badass. And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's just, it's like when I think about the Brawly episodes, or just even the first Brawly episode, and then I compare it to this, I'm just like, it don't hit the same. It does not hit the same. But, like I said, part of B's hype comes from the games. and from probably Twilight, which I think she's better characterized in Twilight. I don't know, bro. This shit different, bro. Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below, man. I don't know. And then the next episode's a fucking Pikachu thing, man. Bro, I low-key... This series is low-key made me question, maybe I'm just getting too old for the Pokemon anime, because this writing just does not hit the way it used to. Jesus Christ. I didn't even seen all the X and Y, and from what I know of the Wolfric arc, that was handled way better. But yeah, we'll see what happens in time. Last game, play to win, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace off.